It was a crisp autumn morning, the kind where the air feels sharper, cleaner, and the leaves seem to glow against the sky. I was driving home from the grocery store when I heard it, an ugly, grinding roar that didn't belong in my neighborhood. As I turned the corner, my stomach dropped. 3 chainsaws screamed in unison, their teeth tearing through the thick trunks of my oak trees. These weren't just trees. They were part of my life. My kids had built tree houses in them. We'd strung fairy lights along their branches for backyard dinners. They had been here longer than my house. I slammed the car door and ran toward them. "What in the world are you doing?" I shouted over the noise. The workers didn't stop. They just glanced at me and kept cutting. Standing at the edge of my yard was her, Margaret, the HOA president, arms folded like a queen surveying her kingdom. "We're opening up the view of the lake for the neighborhood," she said, as if she were doing me a favor. "These are my trees," I fired back, shaking with anger. "You can't just. It's within the HOA's right to maintain aesthetic standards," she interrupted, smirking. "If you have a complaint, you can bring it up at the next meeting." By the time they left, my once shaded yard looked naked, raw. The sound of chainsaws still rang in my ears, and my kids stood on the porch, staring at the stumps like graves. That night, I sat in the dark with a single thought pounding in my head. They think they can get away with this. They have no idea who they're dealing with. The next day, I called an attorney. At first, I thought I was just fighting for compensation to replace the trees, but the deeper we dug, the bigger the case became. My lawyer, a sharp-tongued property law specialist named Karen Blake, pulled the HOA's bylaws and state property statute. Her brow furrowed. "They didn't just break the rules," she said, tapping her pen. "They committed trespass, property damage, and environmental destruction. This isn't small claims. We're going big." I started collecting evidence. Photos of the stump. Drone footage showing exactly how far they crossed onto my land. Estimates from certified arborists valuing my destroyed oaks at over $100,000 each. We even found an old survey proving that a strip of land the HOA thought was theirs had actually belonged to me all along. The HOA board fought back, sending me letters dripping with passive-aggressive language about my unsightly yard and failure to maintain neighborhood harmony. At one board meeting, Margaret leaned into the microphone and said, "Some people just don't understand community spirit." I sat in the back, recording every word. The trial became the talk of the neighborhood. Some neighbors secretly rooted for me, slipping me quiet words of encouragement in the grocery store. Others avoided me, afraid of crossing the board. Every court date was a battle, expert witnesses, cross-examinations, legal maneuvers, but I showed up to every one in my best suit, staring down the board like a general on the battlefield. After months of legal warfare, the verdict day arrived. I sat at the plaintiff's table, my hands clenched so tightly my knuckles went white. The jury filed in. The foreman stood. "We find in favor of the plaintiff, damages awarded, $1,400,000. I exhaled so hard it felt like I'd been holding my breath for months. But then the judge continued. "Additionally, the property line dispute is resolved in the plaintiff's favor, granting them full ownership of the contested strip of land." My lawyer's grin could have lit up the room. That strip of land was the HOA's precious view corridor, the very reason they'd cut down my trees. Now it belonged to me, and I knew exactly what I was going to do with it. Within weeks, I hired landscapers to plant a new line of trees, taller, denser, and more beautiful than before. We installed a small private garden with benches, a winding path, and a sign that read, "Private property, no trespassing." From her deck, Margaret could watch every day as her open view transformed into a lush wall of green. The neighborhood gossip shifted overnight. People started calling it the Great HOA Defeat. And every time I walked past my new trees, I ran my hand along the bark, remembering that sound of the chainsaws and how sweet it felt to turn their arrogance into my victory.